It just shows the Championship is ruthless. It's a high standard. It shows why it's arguably one of the best leagues in the world. Anyone can beat anyone on the day. And I think, if we start cutting out the mistakes, Dad, get a little bit stronger at set-piece defending and pick up the speed and momentum, we could be a very, very dangerous and good
I
team
think that
this
would
season.
we'd have a good season if we can do that and do it on a regular
But
basis.
it's consistency, isn't it?
Yeah, and
it's not just consistency in games.
No.
You reference this. It's consistency in the 90 minutes you're playing.
Welcome back to BCFC Royal Blue. Now, the season is well underway, but once again, we have a second international break, and that gives me and Matt the opportunity to reflect, I suppose, on a number of things. So in this podcast, we're going to do one of our unscripted podcasts where we just have a general chat about what's going on at the Blues and just sort of bounce some thoughts off each other in relation to anything that's on our mind, really. And, at the time of recording, Matt, we've just come off the back of our 1-1 draw against Wrexham. So I suppose my first question is how would you sum up the start of the season so far?
Inconsistent, but not worried. I think we're still finding our feet. On one of the videos recently that I mentioned about us finding our Championship identity. And I mean, Wrexham was the definition of inconsistent, wasn't it? In terms of the first half was literally Wrexham and the second half was literally Blues. I mean, you can't get more inconsistent or, polar opposites than that. And I think we're getting there. I think we will come good. I really do. I think Kogo's going to come good. I am optimistic. I'm definitely not a doom and gloom person.
Best disallowed goal I've ever seen.
Exactly.
He was offside, but what a great finish.
Exactly.
He must have been absolutely steaming at that. Oh, gosh. He was going like that, wasn't he? He was offside. He was offside.
He was clearly half a yard offside. It wasn't even close,
but
really.
I know it don't count, but it does show you what he can do. He knows where the goal is. He's just got to do that in a match and stay on side.
It's confidence, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think with strikers and goalkeepers, I've always said that they're the two positions. I mean, all positions thrive off confidence, but goalkeeper and striker especially, they're such confidence positions. If you get a confident goalkeeper and a confident striker, you know about it.
Yeah.
Inconsistent, Dad, but as I said, I think we are moving in the right direction. Things will come good for me. And I think the one thing I want to see, and we've picked up on this a lot in videos, actually there's a couple of things I'm about to pick up on. One is tempo. 2 is movement, and those two work in conjunction with each other. We're too static, we're not quick enough, and when we do shift the ball faster, we do look dangerous, and when we do start moving, we look dangerous. And the big one for me, and then I'll pass it over to you, Dad, to get your thoughts, is set pieces.
Yeah.
We've got to do something about defending set pieces, because every time there's a long throw, every time there's a corner, I am genuinely worried. My adrenaline starts to kick in. Stop doing it to me, Blues.
Yeah.
I can't handle a full season of set pieces where I'm nervous before the ball goes in.
You're expecting it to, for us to concede, and that can't be right, can it? We are now the highest team at the moment this season in the Championship for conceding goals against set pieces. And the worrying thing about that is that teams will research that and they will just work on set pieces against us. So we've got to be better than that, and we've got to improve on set pieces. But I'd sum up the season, as a reasonably good start. And I think that we've said this before, that what's really sort of skewing things really is expectation before the start of the season. A lot of the media was stirring up the fact that we were going to get double promotion and because of our record-breaking League One season. But the reality is, this Championship is ruthless. Every team wants to get promoted in terms of, they've got strong players, ex-Prem teams, Prem players, and the reality is, we have got a good side, we have got good players, but we are still finding our feet in the Championship, and I think that's where we are really at the moment. And I think we've had some good performances. Like I say, we have to cut out because some of these goals that we're conceding, we're the architects of our own downfall. Yeah. We're making mistakes. I'm not going to name any players. We've done that in previous podcasts, but we've got to cut out silly mistakes. We've got to improve on set pieces, and as you mentioned as well, I think we'll improve forward. So there's lots for us to work on, and we've still got 12 points out of 9 games, which it's okay. It's okay. It's not disastrous. We're not near the bottom. We're and also as well, I think what we've also got to bear in mind, we've played Ipswich, we've been away at Leicester, we've been away at Coventry, we've been away at Stoke and Wrexham. They're tough grounds to go to.
But you always tell me that you could look at any game on paper and they're difficult games in this league.
I suppose so.
But I think what strikes me again, Dad, and it's no surprise, we've been in the Championship for the last sort of 15 years, minus last season in League One. You forget how ruthless it is. So when we do make mistakes at this level, you get punished 9 times out of 10. even Sheffield Wednesday, when we played them, and no disrespect to Sheffield Wednesday, just we know that club is in turmoil and trouble at the moment. They punished us,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. Teams down the bottom half of the table, your Oxfords, your Sheffield Wednesdays, even they're capable of an upset. I mean, Oxford went to Bristol City and knocked their home. They beat them at home, didn't they?
Yeah.
It just shows the Championship is ruthless. It's a high standard. It shows why it's arguably one of the best leagues in the world. Anyone can beat anyone on the day. And I think, if we start cutting out the mistakes, Dad, get a little bit stronger at set-piece defending and pick up the speed and momentum, we could be a very, very dangerous and good
I
team
think that
this
would
season.
we'd have a good season if we can do that and do it on a regular
But
basis.
it's consistency, isn't it?
Yeah, and
it's not just consistency in games.
No.
You reference this. It's consistency in the 90 minutes you're playing.
Yeah, exactly. And the injuries aren't helping as well. And it's nice to see Keshi come back from injury, and we haven't seen him much up until he came on as a sub against Wrexham. So hopefully that's a sign of him coming back, because he's become quite an important player for us now over a number of years, hasn't he? But we've still got the lots of Williamson, Buchanan, Scott Wright, Ethan Laird, Bright,
Douche.
Yes, Dux as well. So he's injured as well. So we have got some injuries, and hopefully the international break will clear a few of that. I know Laird is more of a long term; he's a couple of months away. Bright didn't appear against Wrexham, and I don't think he's got a serious injury. But sometimes injuries can take weeks or so. So hopefully he might be back after the international break. But that does disrupt your side as well, doesn't it, in terms of that? So hopefully we can get some of those players back.
Again, Dan, I'm just going to highlight it. I was really surprised to see Iwata at right back against Wrexham, only because we had Samstead and Neumann on the bench at that game. So again, I think that sends a pretty clear message, doesn't it?
Yeah, Neumann's surprised me. He came with a lot of good reputation of being a solid defender, and someone that was tall, had a bit of pace, and that could surge forward with the ball. And clearly, Chris Davis has preferred a left footer alongside Clara, because Clara is going to be the first choice centre half. He's absolutely the number one in that position, isn't he? So I'm hoping that over the season that Neumann will get his chance, because I still think, from what the research I did on him, he's a really good player. He was highly sought after in Germany. He was.
I like his height, Dad, and I like his speed.
Yeah,
I think he's really good. I think when I've watched him in the games he did play, I think he had a little bit of trouble adapting to the English game coming from the German leagues. As in just maybe the tempo of the game, maybe the way he reads the game.
Yeah, and he's got to adjust to our system.
He didn't do anything disastrous. I thought he was a decent player. I mean, I think the sub was warranted off the back of left foot balance.
Yeah.
But I would rather, just in my brutal, honest opinion, from what I've seen so far, if Jack Robinson, for some reason, is suspended or he's out injured, and then we come to a secondary, I would rather see Neumann there than Cashin. Yeah. Personal preference.
No, I agree. So I'd rather, I think Chris Davis, and I think it's right to have a left-footed centre-half. And a lot of Blues fans keep going back to the fact that we should have signed Ben Davies, and we should have, but we didn't. We've got to move on. Yeah, that's my point. We've got to move on. But I agree with you. If we do need a left-footed centre half, for me at the moment it can't be Cashin. I mean, he's cost us goals and points at the moment, and now that could be because he hasn't played much game time. But then he shouldn't be in the team. Chris Davis should only put him in the team when he's ready. Clearly, he isn't ready, so he needs more. He might need some game time in the under-23s or under-21s just to give him a bit more competitive football, and then see where we go from there. But it has to be Neumann as well. Our away form was worrying me. I mean, we still haven't been brilliant away. We beat Blackburn, and then our only other points have been against Wrexham. I know it's early in the season. We've only played about 4 or 5 games.
Even Blackburn away, Dad, was 2 in 90 plus.
It was, but it was encouraging against Wrexham in the second half, wasn't it? I think that maybe give us a bit of something to refer back to. So Chris Davis can say that's the type of why we need to play away from home to dominate them. So it is encouraging, and obviously lack of goal scoring chances. We changed that a little bit against Wrexham. We had a few more, not many, but a few more. And we're more on the front foot, but hopefully we have to correct our away form, because I think we will be strong at home. I do think as well. I don't think we're going to go through this season being unbeaten at home. I think we will lose points at home.
Of course we will.
But I'd like to think we could. But I think the reality of this league is we were very close to losing that record against Sheffield Wednesday, wasn't we?
All it takes is a couple of mistakes.
It does
at this level, and you are in trouble. I think we'll lose a couple of games this season at home.
Yeah.
Just being purely reasonable.
That's the quality. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. But it's the away form that you've got that'll determine how well you do. So if you can have a steady home form or a good home form and then pick up points away, you're not going to be too far away. I'm going to ask this question because it's a bit of a white elephant, really, and we've seen it on social media. What's your thoughts on the comments of people saying that Chris Davis should be sacked?
Football is brutal, isn't it? And people get very impatient. And I think Blues fans, well, not Blues fans, sorry. As a Blues fan, I like to remind myself of the last 15 years and the turmoil that we've been through and just the rubbish on and off the pitch with the previous ownership, I mean, before the Wrexham game, Dad, if we would have won against Wrexham, we'd have been in the playoff spaces.
Yeah.
Again, I know the league doesn't work like that because teams then having a game the next day, they have to catch up. You would have maybe dropped down to mid-table by that point, who knows? But the point is, this isn't a disastrous season. We're not in the relegation zone. Fair enough, I completely appreciate the concerns around the inconsistency of the performances, around our lack of killer instinct and cutting edge moving forward. We do need to score more goals. We do need more movement. And I think we do need to adapt Chris Davies' strategy slightly just to be a bit more prominent in games and impose ourselves in games. But I like Chris Davies. Me and you, that's no secret. Me and you have said this on the podcast many times. I think he's the man to get us through this. He's just going through a patch. All managers go through a bit of a sticky, difficult patch. And I think he's showing us what he's made of. I think he will get it. This will take time. We've had so much turnover at the club again this summer. It needs just takes a little bit of time. I would personally urge on the side of patience. I think he will be the man to get us through there. But I guess the period now between October and Christmas is going to be key.
Yeah, I mean, every single manager in every club all over the country and probably all over the world are going to be measured on winning games and getting points. But there is something to say for stability, and allowing a manager to make a few mistakes, but knowing that he's taking you in the right direction. I see that in Chris Davies. He's taken us in the right direction. Yeah, we are going to. And he said himself that we're going to go through the season. There are going to be periods of frustration and disappointment because he knows
it's football.
It's football, and I'm not any manager that's manager of my club. I will support them. Does it come to a point like with a Rooney, for example?
Remember Rooney?
Yeah, but he gets
losing every week.
Yeah, but that's different. That's different because we weren't playing well and we were losing, and it wasn't right there. But with Chris Davies, okay, people can say, "Oh yeah, anybody would have won League One with that team." I don't agree. I think that certain managers would have, maybe not been as dominant as that. But now you're in the Championship, you're mixing with the big boys, a lot of the big boys, and we've got to give Chris Davies time. And I don't like it when I see sack the manager. I don't like. I know that football fans react. And we're all disappointed when we lose or we see a bad performance. We'll call out bad performances. We'll be honest and say we don't think that was good enough. But you've got to have this stability. Now, for me, I think he is the man to take us forward, and I think that he will get it right. And it might take him a bit of time.
It's his first managerial
job. And of course,
job,
the question is, how patient is Tom Wagner? That's
Wow.
Because that's the key. Whatever we say, and whether we like him or whether we don't, ultimately the person with the decision on this is going to be Tom Wagner.
As well, Dad, against Wrexham, he come out and said Chris Davies has the full support and backing of the board.
Yeah.
Now, of course, he's not going to come out and tell you and go, "Oh no, if he doesn't win tonight, he's sacked." He's not going to come out and say anything like that or throw him under the bus. He's obviously going to say the political answer that he's going to say on telly, but to say has the full support of the board, I believe him.
Yeah.
I think they trust in Tom Wagner. They trust in Chris Davies at the moment, and I think as well, Dad, we're not bottom of the table, losing every game with terrible performances.
No.
We're still doing quite well. We've got a decent points return. I think we're going to see ourselves get better as this season goes on. And by the way, this is just mine and yours opinion. Blues fans, you are fully entitled to your opinion.
Absolutely,
as well. If you think Chris Davies should go, that's your opinion. That's fine. We're not saying that's an incorrect opinion because that doesn't exist. Your opinion's your opinion. But for us, I just think patience and remembering where we've been over the last 15 years, and actually things aren't that bad.
Yeah, and when you listen to Chris Davies as well, you listen to him. He's obviously got the best interests of the club at heart. And, he's building something, I think, and you've got to let him build it. And, it will come with bumps in the road. There's no doubt. You can't not in this Championship. It's so strange. The results are weird. You can have an off day. You can make a mistake, But we want to see a bit more consistency, and I think that will come over time. So you are right, man. I think that is a fair point to say, if people think that they are perfectly entitled to it. We're not criticising that. Yeah. I asked you the question because I wanted to get your thoughts. So I sort of knew what you were going to say because we've had little conversations about this anyway, really, haven't we, about Chris Davies? Yeah. And both of us have always said he has to be given time. Yeah. And I think he will get it right.
Can I ask you a question as well? Because obviously that was on Chris Davies. Now we've started the season and we have seen what Blues are about and what we're playing. What are your thoughts now reflecting back on the summer on our recruitment?
Overall, I don't think
Any gaps? Anything you think we've missed? Anything
Oh,
we need to improve on?
well, if I focus on the players that we've brought in, I don't think anybody's really
I think
showered
Damari
us out.
Gray's been good.
He's done good. He's done good and okay. But again, he actually got his goal against Sheffield Wednesday. But he's the standout signing, I think, that's actually shown us something. But I think all the players that have come in, apart from him, have got something to prove still. I mean, some of them have been disrupted by injuries
and stuff.
I've no idea what's going on with Fujimoto. I mean, he's back and fit.
Well, he came on against Sheffield Wednesday for like 5 minutes at the end, didn't he? 10 minutes at the end.
Yeah, but he's going to turn into a Mung Jae Lee, isn't he?
Yeah,
You know, that we don't even play. But so maybe Chris Davies is not convinced he's what he thought he was or whatever. To me, I think Fujimoto has the chance of being that type of signing that will end up not kicking out the door. That's a bit harsh, but he'll be sent out on loan or maybe whatever. Because unless Chris Davies starts to pick him more regularly, he's obviously telling him you're not what I want. I'm not convinced. So from my point of view, I think that if I'm going to be honest, okay, overall, the new players have been disappointing. That's my truth. I think that there's nobody apart from Damari Gray really. Tommy Doyle as well. He's shown glimpses, but he's not getting picked. So he hasn't had the chance at the moment to show exactly what he's about because he needs to get in the team in a more regular basis.
But again, when he has been on, he's been good.
Yeah, exactly. But I still think you need a run of games to show what you can do. So the jury's.
Yeah, but what's frustrating about that is it's not his fault. He's just not getting picked.
Yeah,
and that's really frustrating.
But then the question is, then go back a step. Why is he not getting picked? Is it because Chris Davies doesn't like him, or is he's seeing things that we're not? I don't know. I don't know the answer to these questions. But every time I've seen Tommy Doyle, he seems to have put in a good shift when he's come on. He seems to be progressive and going forward, but he's just not being picked. So to answer your question, I think that overall at the moment, as things stand after 9 games. The recruitment's been disappointing, which is surprising because on paper, when we did the research on all these players, they all looked like they were decent players.
Just shows the level of the championship in some ways. And
I mean, things, I'm not going to go through all of them, but overall, I mean, there's nobody that stands out to me apart from probably Dimmy as the.
I think Dimmy's head and shoulders.
Yeah, obviously Kyogo's been disappointing. He's had goal scoring chances and not scored yet, but you can still see the thing is you can still see good quality players in here, but they've got to do it and produce it for us on the pitch clearly, where it actually matters, and I think that's where we're lacking. Yeah, so I think the club will be overall disappointed with what's happened so far, what the new signings have produced. But we're only 9 games in,
Exactly,
and I think we need to see a bit more of what they do. Did you see Tom Wagner's comments as well? This is a few days ago. He was talking.
About the Premier League.
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting. I'm always interested to see Tom's opinion on various things. And what he mentioned was he was asked about it was a summit for leaders in London or something like that. And he was asked about what his thoughts were about the way that the Premier League clubs should, distribute funds down through the pyramid. And he said, I'll give you a quote, because I've actually sort of written down what he said, which I thought was very interesting. I think the top clubs in English football have to be protected at all costs. We can't take too much from the top clubs to support the pyramid. Very controversial in terms of the way that was put out.
But when I'm sure you're going to get into it now. People read that headline and went nuts, but they didn't understand the wider context.
Because he sort of clarified it, but they didn't publish this bit. Exactly. He says if you have a situation where the top teams are not dominant, internationally with the very best players and product, then the interest will wane, particularly from the US market, which will drive interest and capital flows into football. He said, I love the pyramid, and we've experienced a lot of it already at the club. But the top clubs are the top clubs that are highly successful have significant brand value and draw interest, and we hope the interest will help grow the entire pyramid. I sort of, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because you'll have those that will say that the Premier League clubs get so much money, but then that's the value that they add. They get the money because they are the best league in the world, and there are others that are saying, well, and I think it's a good counter argument. Well, yeah, but if you don't distribute that money, some of that money down the pyramid, how are you going to produce the players that eventually come into the Premier League? So also
the gap just gets bigger and bigger between the top and the bottom, doesn't it? Yeah. So I see both sides of the coin on this one. But what he's getting at, which people didn't read the details of. He's saying that you need to keep English football, the Premier League, the best league in the world, elite, keep it the highest possible standard it can. And that's when, you got Man City and Liverpool all playing Champions League football. When on those nights, when you've got the world's best players, it creates an interest in England and the Premier League. That's what he's getting at, is that the big clubs need to be high levels of quality so that we stand out on the international stage as a country and as a Premier League to then keep that investment coming in. What I guess I don't like about the other side of that debate and conversation is I am a big fan of funds trickling down the system so clubs still have a chance. I'm not a massive fan of parachute payments because I still think that creates an unlevel playing field. But I'm talking about League One, League Two, and the going further down the pyramid. I'm not talking necessarily about the Championship here, and I'm talking about all levels because we've seen clubs go out of business recently, and Morecambe have been in trouble. Bury were in trouble
a few years ago. Yeah,
I think that's sad to see when those kind of small community clubs kind of go under.
Yeah,
and maybe I'm taking this too far and too serious. I don't know. Maybe you can check me on this, but I like the idea of Premier League, elite, and England being the hub of football, but then also I still see the value in funds making its way down the pyramid.
I agree, and what I agree with is to support teams that actually really need it, right? But not to prop up teams that have got poor financial management, because that's not what it's designed for. If somebody gets themselves, and we've been in this position, poor management, poor ownership. And
no one helped us.
Yeah, yes, but
we got points deductions. And,
but we again, that's because we created that situation because our owners at the time didn't know how to run a football club.
Mm-hmm.
So then the Premier League could rightfully argue, well, why should we pay for your mistakes?
Mm-hmm.
You've put your club in that position. So I think in that type of situation, that's not what the money's designed for. But I do think that there has to be some investment and money trickling down to grassroots level, and to the teams in the lower leagues to give them the support that they need just to keep running, really, and to allow the pyramid to still work. Because if teams keep going out of business, we'll lose that the pyramid.
Well, you'll end up with that Super League they wanted to make a couple of years back. Do you remember when the public pushed back and it ended up getting scrapped? You'll just end up with this elite circle of European clubs, and that's not what you want either. You want Morecambe, you want Bury, you want look at Wrexham. It's the perfect story, isn't it? From National League to the Championship.
Yeah.
Would that exist if money? I mean, that they had big owners' investment from Hollywood, I guess. So maybe a slightly different argument here because they did have the money pumped in from their owners. Okay, but
they've had to build that. No,
the point still stands though. They've gone from the Conference South and North or whatever the league system is, non-leagues, all the way through now to the Championship.
Yeah.
And the odds are now in the next 3 to 5 years they're going to be looking to push from the Championship into the Premier League, and that happens due to our wonderful English football system and having a pyramid.
The pyramid's brilliant. I mean, looking at Wrexham, when the two owners came in, I think they paid $2 million for the club or something like that, and they've gradually built that club. So they didn't come in and pump like 20 million straight into the club. They've built it right and done it correctly, and that's a good model for how you should develop and run a team. That's absolutely fine. Of course, they've got the publicity of the documentary and their worldwide appeal, which is a massive difference. But I think that the pyramid has to sustain itself, and that has to be partly funded by some money coming down from the Premier League. But also, I think there's more awareness now of finances in football, and a lot of teams are getting into financial trouble because it's their own making. And then obviously there's points deductions. Look at Sheffield Wednesday at the moment. We've got an owner who can't even pay the wages of the staff, not just the players, the whole staff who are all being affected. And you're talking about a Championship team that have got like lots and lots of revenue income. So all that money that they're getting in, and I know that the fans are protesting, so the attendances aren't what they used to be at the moment at Sheffield, but they're a well-supported club. So they're still getting income coming in through the gate and through TV revenues. So why isn't the money there to pay? So I'm saying there's lots of questions that we could ask. So in terms of what Tom's saying, I think that he's saying that that you need to allow the top teams to continue to develop and provide that product and provide something different, and not throw the money at clubs that basically are mismanaged, and I think reading between the lines, some of that is what you were saying. But
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
If you're talking about mismanagement and clubs that can't manage their finances properly, and they go to the Premier League and spend 200 million and it doesn't work, and they come straight back down. You could argue, was that irresponsible to do? But I think what's difficult now is the gap does seem so big between Premier League and Championship. But fair play to some of the clubs this season: Sunderland, Leeds, Burnley. They're having a bit more of a crack than the previous years. If you look at Ipswich, Leicester, and Southampton from last year, they were just getting annihilated most weeks in and out, weren't they? Whereas Sunderland, especially, are having a right good run at it. So,
but you look how much they've spent, though.
Oh, no, they've spent a lot of money, and they've done it well, though.
Yeah.
They've bought Premier League experience. I think Sunderland have done a great job with their recruitment this year, and they've accepted they're playing back foot football to then catch teams on the break, and it's working for them. So you can do it. I mean, season's still long, and they've got a long season ahead of them, but yeah, the gap does seem big. So it's that thing, you do have to make the step up, you do have to invest, but you have to do it in a responsible way, don't you?
Yeah. So anyway, Tom, as always, raises opinions, doesn't he,
exactly.
when he speaks. And the final thing really that I suppose is the women's team have made a good start to the is it the WSL2?
WSL2, yeah.
They're top at the moment, and they're sort of ticking along quite nicely. I think that Tom Wagner is really keen to get them into the WSL1.
Yeah.
So they've definitely made a good start, and they're progressing, quite nicely. So it's nice to see. It's nice to see all the teams doing well, men's and women's, and
the academies, and they've I think that's one of the best things I've noticed about Tom Wagner and Knighthead is they haven't just bought Birmingham City men's football first team. They've bought Birmingham City as a club and a community and a city.
Yeah.
And
Tom always talks about the city, doesn't he? The city
Exactly.
of Birmingham and the benefit of the city to what they're doing.
And he's coming at it from a business perspective. He wants Birmingham to be a hub of England. He wants the connection between London and Birmingham and good network links and good transport links and all that sort of stuff. I get that. But he genuinely seems like a decent bloke who likes to invest in Birmingham. I've seen him in schools around the community, like giving out Birmingham merchandise to the kids and talking about success and stuff. And just backing up that point, it's good to see the women doing well. Men are having good investment as well. We're doing okay this season. The academies seem like
the club's moving forward, isn't it?
It's progressively as a club. We look like we're heading in the right direction. Great to see.
Yeah, it is as good as well. So I'm glad of the international break now. If I'm honest, I'll give me Ticker a bit of a break.
I must admit, I'm with you. I always get torn with the international break. I hate having a gap, but actually, I think I'm ready for a week's gap.
At the time of recording, this is literally the day after the Wrexham game, and we're saying now it's good, but probably tomorrow. Oh, where's the football gone and stuff like that. But anyway,
you can watch England.
Well, you could watch England, but I'm not a big fan of. Apart from the actual tournaments, I'm not a big fan of international football. If I'm honest. Anyway, that's it. Anything else?
No, just
keep right on.
Keep right on. Yeah, no, I think I almost lost for words in terms of I can't even think of a closing comment in terms of it's been such an intense couple of weeks with the podcast and Blues and stuff like that. I'm looking forward to a week's buffer, I think, and hopefully we come back and get some momentum. Is it Hull our next game when we come back?
Yeah, it is. Hull at home. Yeah. So that's it for this podcast, Blues fans. Hope you've enjoyed it, and if you've got any comments, let us know below. Any thoughts on what we've talked about? Anything on your mind? Add a comment below, and myself and Matt are always happy to read and respond. If you did like this podcast, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't checked us out on our social media channels already, pop along to our X page and our Instagram page. And if you like to watch or listen to your podcast on Spotify, you'll also find us on there. And you'll see the handles appearing on the screen for all these channels right now. If you hadn't subscribed to the channel and you'd like to, there's absolutely no obligation to subscribe. But if you want to, hit the big red subscribe button. And if you hit the bell icon next to the subscribe button, you'll get notified every time myself and Matt put out a new podcast. So that's it for this one. Hope you've enjoyed it. And myself and Matt will see you on the next one, all about Birmingham City.